Welcome to Crisis in Perception, where we examine the systems shaping our world, one book at a time. So today we're diving into Halle Butler's novel, The New Me. This one is a razor-sharp look at the system of precarious modern work and how it can quietly, almost surgically, take apart our sense of self-worth and our feeling of being in control of our own lives. At the heart of this book is this really powerful, almost invisible framework that shapes the main character's entire world. And once Butler gives it a name, you start seeing it everywhere. You just can't unsee it. It's called the personal failure narrative. And what is that? It's basically a system that's set up to convince you that your struggles, the anxiety, the feeling like you just can't get ahead, are all your fault. Not, a totally predictable result of the environment you're trapped in. So how does this whole system actually play out in a person's life? Well, through the protagonist, Millie, we see four really clear patterns of collapse start to emerge. And the key thing to remember here is that these aren't just her personal flaws. No, they're symptoms of a system that's fundamentally broken. All right, so let's break them down. We've got instability without accountability. Then there's this weird focus on performance over security, how self-improvement can actually be a mask for feeling powerless. And finally, emotional withdrawal as a way to adapt. Okay, first up, this feeling of constant instability. Millie's a temp worker, right? So she's basically living in this permanent state of limbo. The company she works for, they have all the power, but they take absolutely zero responsibility for her. Not for her well-being, not for her future. She is, and this is by design, totally disposable. And this quote from her supervisor, Karen, wow, it is so revealing. It really exposes the system's quiet little wish. It wants the individual to fail on their own. Why? Because then the company is off the hook. Her failure looks like it was her choice, not a result of their complete indifference. All right, pattern number 2. When you don't have any real job security, what does the system do? It replaces it with demands for these meaningless performances of professionalism. It becomes all about looking the part, even when there's no real part to play. And get this. This moment illustrates it perfectly. Millie gets a lecture on the correct way to use a paperclip. I mean, come on. It's the perfect example of this holy absurdity. You focus on these tiny, superficial rules because the job itself, it's completely hollow. It offers zero real purpose or stability. So think about it. When you have absolutely no control over what's happening around you, where do you turn? You turn inward. And that's our third pattern. This never-ending, totally exhausting cycle of self-improvement. It becomes a distraction, doesn't it? A way to feel like you're in control when you're not. You can hear it in Millie's head. Her thoughts are just this constant drumbeat of shoulds. She feels she should be better, do more, fix herself. And that is a classic symptom of that personal failure narrative we talked about, blaming yourself for systemic powerlessness and looking for individual solutions to a much bigger collective problem. After a while, trying to fight a system like this it's exhausting. And that leads us to our final pattern, adapting by just retreating, pulling back. This emotional withdrawal becomes a survival mechanism against that constant alienation, that feeling that you just don't belong. And you see it right here. Millie starts to reframe her isolation as a conscious choice, a preference. She tells herself, it's better this way. This isn't just about being sad. It's a powerful psychological adaptation to a system that offers no genuine connection, no real reward, so she just stops seeking it. So if we had to boil this entire system down to just one single image, what would it look like? The book gives us a really powerful one. It's a treadmill. Just picture it. You're always moving, right? You're always putting in the energy, always performing the act of moving forward. But here's the kicker. You never actually get anywhere. The system isn't built for you to make progress. It's built for perpetual, exhausting, and ultimately fruitless motion. All that effort you're putting in, it doesn't guarantee you'll ever reach a destination. What this book really does is it gives us a new lens, a new perception for spotting these pressures in our own world. It helps us completely reframe what we even think failure means. And that brings us to this final, really provocative thought. What if feeling like a failure isn't a sign that you're broken, but a sign that the system is working exactly as it was designed to? That perspective shifts the entire burden from personal inadequacy to systemic design. It suggests that these feelings, well, they aren't a bug, they're a feature. For the full long-form deep dive into this book and its ideas, follow the link in the description.
If you enjoy this kind of systems-level analysis, please like, subscribe, and comment with books or topics you'd like us to explore next.